Hello, my name is Martin Martinez. I'm the Youth Governor for YMCA Florida Youth in Government. Today I'm going to be talking about Amendment 1, the Citizens' Requirements for Voting Initiative. This is essentially changing some of the wordage in Section 2, Article 6 of the Florida Constitution. Currently it says every citizen of the United States is able to vote, and it's going to change that wordage to only citizens of the United States. If you want to read the entire section, it's available online. Just Google Section 2, Article 6, and it'll be there as it's written, and the amendment is changing the words every citizens to only citizens. Currently, there's no laws allowing non-citizens to vote, but in cities like San Francisco, they've allowed non-citizens to vote in local elections. This is simply a preemptive way of stopping that. Florida Citizen Voters, a supporter of this amendment, actually points that they want to clear out this discrepancy. The League of Women Voters of Florida points that this distinction does not need to be made, and that it's already kind of clear, because there's no non-citizens voting in Florida currently. But remember, vote this November 3rd.
Hi, my name is Rhea Patel from Florida YMCA Youth in Government, here for our 2020 Voter Education Series. This year when you vote, you will see 6 amendments on the Florida ballot. Amendment 2 would gradually increase the minimum wage of Florida workers from $8.56 per hour to $15 per hour by 2026. In the event that Amendment 2 passes, the minimum wage would increase to $10 an hour on September 30th, 2021, and increase $1 a year after until it reaches $15 in 2026. From that point forward, the minimum wage would be adjusted annually for inflation. If approved, Florida would become the first state to raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour through a ballot initiative. Supporters say raising the minimum wage would help the economy because low-income workers tend to spend what they earned. Research shows that employee morale and work ethic increase when employees believe they are being paid a fair wage. According to Florida Tax Watch, large companies are better positioned than small businesses to absorb the impact of a $15 hourly wage without having to increase the prices paid by consumers. Forcing their small business competitors to match higher starting wages paid by companies like Amazon and Costco creates an unfair competitive advantage for these larger companies. Opponents argue that raising the minimum wage will lead to hours being cut and less job hirings. The economic impacts are not limited to business, but would also increase the cost of government service, with school districts facing the greatest annual cost increase. For ballot initiatives to pass in Florida, they must get a supermajority vote. That means it needs to be approved by 60% of those voting on the question. So, it is time for you to decide on November 3rd.
Hi, my name is James Williams from Florida YMCA Youth in Government, here for our 2020 Voter Education Series. This year when you vote, you will see 6 amendments on the Florida ballot. Amendment 3 proposes that all registered voters, regardless of political party affiliation, would be able to vote in primary elections for state legislature, governor, and cabinet. As it stands now, Florida is a closed primary state, meaning that voters must be registered with a political party in order to participate in that party's primary election. This amendment would make Florida a top 2 primary and would place all candidates for an office, including major party, third party, and no party affiliation, on the ballot. All candidates, no matter their party affiliation, would then compete in a single primary. The top 2 vote getters in the primary election would then become the 2 general election candidates, no matter their party affiliation. Supporters of this amendment argue that it would work to end partisan politics and would allow 4 million voters who do not belong to a major political party to vote in primary elections. Opponents of this amendment argue that it would reduce voter choice, as candidates from the same party could run against each other within a large group of mixed party candidates, and would tilt the odds against minority candidates. If passed, Florida would be the 3rd state in the U.S. to adopt a top 2 primary system. For ballot initiatives to pass in Florida, they must get a supermajority vote. That means it needs to be approved by 60% of those voting on the question. So, it's time for you to decide on November 3rd.
Hello, my name is Ty Robinson from Florida YMCA Youth in Government, here for our 2020 Voter Education Series. Florida Amendment 4, to require constitutional amendments to be passed twice, would require 2 general elections for an amendment to be put into effect. Currently, when an amendment is approved by a 60% supermajority in a general election, it joins the state constitution. This amendment would ensure that the passing of any future amendments would require 2 general elections with a 60% supermajority in both for it to be added into the Florida Constitution. As of now, Nevada is the only other state with a similar action in place. This initiative is being sponsored by the Keep Our Constitution Clean Political Committee. The attorney representing this committee, John Zimmerman, explained that the financial backers are bipartisan, which means that it has support from both political parties. Proponents of the amendment believe it should be extremely difficult to change the Constitution and that the state legislature should pass new laws. However, the League of Women Voters and other groups expressed their opposition by explaining that it would end the citizen-led aspect of Florida's constitutional amendment process. And others argue that adding another layer into the amendment procedure could make it too difficult for new amendments to pass.
Hi, my name is Magdalena Lugo with Florida YMCA Youth and Government here for our 2020 Voter Education Series. This year on voting ballots across Florida is Amendment 5, a move to extend the Save Our Homes Portability Period Amendment. The Save Our Homes Act is only applied to residents that are owner-occupied and qualify for a homestead exemption. This puts a ceiling on how much the county property appraiser can increase the assessed value on which tax rates are levied. The limit is the annual increase on the Consumer Price Index, or 3%, whichever is less. However, the tax savings disappears when the homestead is sold to a new buyer. Currently in the Florida Constitution, if a person moves to a new home, they have 2 years to transfer their Save Our Homes benefit to have the new home assessed at less than just value. The amendment at hand increases that transfer time to 3 years instead of 2. The Florida Revenue Estimating Conference determined that approval of the amendment would reduce local property taxes by $1.8 million beginning in the 2021 fiscal year and would eventually grow to $10.2 million reduction annually. Hopefully you've been able to learn a little more about Amendment 5. See you at the polls in November.
Hello, my name is Kyle Ramos from Florida YMCA Youth and Government, here for our 2020 Voter Education Series. This coming election, Florida voters will decide and vote on Amendment 6, titled Homestead Property Tax Discount for Spouses of Deceased Veterans. It is your duty as a citizen of Florida to vote on issues such as this one, so let us go ahead into detail about this Amendment 6. The amendment was proposed and was passed by both chambers of the state legislature unanimously. If the amendment is passed by at least a 60% majority, homestead property tax discounts for deceased veterans with combat-related disabilities would carry over to a veteran's surviving spouse until they remarry or sell the property. If it's passed, the amendment will take effect in January 2021. Some concerns are that it would mean slightly less revenue for schools and local government. School tax revenues would initially fall by $400,000 with a recurring loss of $1.6 million, according to a fiscal analysis. Non-school property tax revenues would fall initially by $600,000 with a recurring loss of $2.4 million. Proponents of Amendment 6 want to continue to provide additional assistance to Florida's veterans and their families. So remember, it's your duty to go and vote.